Are live. Welcome everybody to, I don't know what episode number this is, 24. I think we're out of order, but this is the Crypto Mining Tools podcast where, and actually Saqib, you said it great before we started going live. You said we talk about the real good stuff, the technical stuff that really just speaks to the everyday miner, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And we're here with our co-host Ethan Zerka.
Hey everybody, and we've got Saqib. Woohoo!
Right. Yeah, so for everybody that doesn't know, Saqib is actually a part of our team now. He'll tell you a little bit more about his story and his background, but today we're going to be talking about GPU and some other stuff. We welcome your comments for everybody that's viewing today, and we're just going to have a great time talking about GPU.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah, Saqib, I get the pleasure of working with you every single day, almost every day, and even on like the weekends when we miss like one day, it feels like forever. So I'm really excited to have you on the show and to hear your story. Tell us how did you get into crypto? How did this all start for you?
Well, first of all, guys, I really want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come out here and kind of talk about my story. And to talk about GPUs, because I know that's a topic that we really haven't covered that much on Crypto Mining Tools, and I really want to talk to all the GPU miners out there on this episode. So my story, it's a very interesting story because I actually got in to BTC around in 2017 when it was around $1,500, and my friend, this friend that I had, he actually started mining Dash in 2016. So what he did is he went and bought these Bicals, these little Bical minis. He bought about 30 of them, and he was one of the first people to get them. And he started mining Dash with them, and he was mining one Dash per day. With these.
Wow.
With these
So can you explain to everybody out there what a Bical mini is, in case they don't know?
Yeah, so a Bical mini is an ASIC miner. It's a version of an ASIC miner with an algorithm that is geared towards mining Dash X11. That's the name of the algorithm.
Okay. So
and it's very small. It's not like your average S9 or S17. It's tiny. It would be about this small, and it has the Raspberry Pi chip on it. And
okay.
It is able to mine X11. At one point, as I said, 30 of these were mining one Dash a day. He accumulated 700 Dash, held it through and through, still has it, to this day, and he's a strong believer in Dash. And I believe he really got me into it. And the thing about him is he didn't know the technical part of it, so he bought these miners, and then he kind of knew that I was into GPUs and I was into overclocking and I was into all these computers and technical things. And the real interesting part of my story is, when he first told me about it, and I realized that I could, all my life, I used to be a gamer, a PC gamer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like most people that have GPUs, they're PC gamers, and I couldn't always get the latest and greatest cards. So what I would have to do is, I would get the mid-tier one, maybe an ATI or an NVIDIA, and I would overclock it, and I would modify the BIOS, and I would overclock it and try to get better FPS in my games. And it was just amazing to me. I had to pinch myself for months on end, to realize that I could use that towards mining an actual value, something of actual value. And it was just a dream for me. It was once I got into it. And my story basically begins where, me and my friend, after he had the success with Dash, he basically asked me to build some rigs. And so we just, we went out to the stores and got some GPUs. We got, 5 at that time, we got RX 570s. These are AMD RX 570s.
Sure.
And mostly the 8 GB versions, because they have, the DAG file download limit is higher, so you can mine Ethereum for longer. Basically, at that point, that was the idea. But yeah, we got about 40 of these cards, and
wow, you went all in.
Yeah. So and it was crazy, because the reason why we did it, and when I got into it, my friend, he wanted to create a source of regular income. And he already had some some BTC, some Dash saved up, and so he wanted to get some regular income from crypto as well. And the best way to do that at that time was to have a rig, because each card was making $5-6 a day, even on NiceHash. And that's what all of the miners back in 2017 they started with, was just NiceHash. You would just put a BTC address in there, and you'd have your rig, and just press start, and it would go. And I had a lot of lessons that I learned from NiceHash. I moved on from that pretty fast. But I ended up getting hacked and everything. Well, I didn't lose that much, luckily, but I learned my lesson, and I learned about 2FA security and how important that is for everything. And so my journey began from there, and I'm really happy to say that that each of the rigs that we built have ROI'd over 10 times, and this is because we were in the game at the right time, in the right place at the right time, and that's another thing. But at the end of it, when I first started, it was like you could just mine anything and make money. It was just you were making profit no matter what. But
and when you're talking about profit, like you're talking about selling that for Bitcoin or selling that for dollars.
Yeah, for BTC, basically. Yeah, selling that for BTC. I've had a lot of BTC that basically has been transacted through altcoins, and I think there was all of 2017 was a really amazing altcoin rally. It was never seen before, especially the ICOs. The ICOs came in later, but I think the GPU mine coins and then the staking coins and the masternode coins, those were around for a long time, and it was really interesting to get an experience with all of those.
So now, I think you were saying earlier before we went live, you're running some ASICs now, and most of your GPUs.
I have a mix. I still have some bicals running, and these are mining deep onion, and this is something that the bear market was amazing for me, because it really gave me the time to kind of get my feelers out and explore the crypto community and learn about different things, like outside of mining, like trading and and staking, masternodes, these things. But then it also taught me about different things in mining, and what to mine is actually just as important as as what you have. So I know with ASICs it's pretty straightforward. Most of us we just mine BTC. But with GPUs, you actually have a choice, and it's really important because there's a speculation game to it as well. And I know that there's been some crypto people that I follow, like Not So Fast on Twitter. He's been really, really amazing, an amazing spec miner that I've been following throughout the years.
Yeah, Not So Fast. And then who else would you say that you used as a resource to learn back when you're getting started?
Coin has always been a really great source for me. And
Drew Vosk, yeah.
And I've also had at one point it was Buried One. He was the one that was coming out with all of these BIOS mods and things. I don't really see him that active anymore, but it was really interesting, the types of BIOS mods that we were doing to each of these GPUs and getting 15, 20, 25%. Hi.
So you mentioned masternodes and staking coins or stake coins. Can you explain in more detail what that is or what that means to people who don't understand?
Sure. So obviously there's, proof of work is what you're doing when you're expending electricity to mine Bitcoin or altcoins. And then you have another technology, which is proof of stake. And proof of stake, and which is what Ethereum is actually moving to, pretty soon. And proof of stake is where you're actually holding a certain amount of coins in a wallet on your computer, and for holding it for a certain amount of time, it gains a stake weight. And that stake weight multiplied, and there's a certain randomness to it, but basically what it comes out to over a certain period of time, everyone. The people that have more coins held for longer periods of time, that are staked for longer periods of time, are able to get more stakes, and that is more basically you can call it an interest, you can call it a profit on your. And every coin is different as far as the reward, the staking reward goes. But yeah, that's pretty much what staking is.
It sounds very confusing.
No, it's really easy. I mean, you just have a wallet and you hold, instead of mining coins, you buy them from the market and then you just hold them in your wallet. And while you're holding them, they're staking, and you can actually see the
like gaining an interest.
Yes, it's like gaining an interest, and it's all in their white paper as far as what percentage you will get during which block number. So whenever it's between this block and this block, this is the stake reward. And so and the frequency of the stakes change as far as the number of coins you have multiplied by how long you've been holding them.
So I'm assuming the longer you hold these coins, the more valuable they become.
No, it's not that they're more valuable.
That's what you want, but yeah. No, I got into the Masternode thing a little bit. Somebody was raving about it and said it was like awesome.
Right.
But yeah, these coins, and the projects behind them sometimes aren't really that great. And
oh yeah, trust me, I've had I've held coins such as Ember coin is one of them that I started out with it was $300, went up to $30,000, not even joking. Okay. That $300 investment went up to $30,000. I was one of the first people to stake, and I staked a large amount, and so I became one of the top holders of that coin. And
you still are?
Yeah, I still am. That's the thing about it, is that I had so many of these. I had so many of these that I didn't even get time to cash out on all of them. But the really interesting thing, and that's another thing that I want to talk about, is that I've held on to some of these projects because they have morphed, and the thing that has morphed them is the community. And two of these projects that I've actually worked for and still do in on a side fashion. Basically, I'm a writer for Atheneum chain, and Atheneum chain came out of Embercoin. Atheneum chain is the first blockchain that is connecting education to the blockchain. So they are connecting with universities and schools, and they're trying to get their degrees on the blockchain. And then they have their corporate training platform as well. So that happened because the community voted on it after the creator of the coin basically just
took off.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got my 30,000. I'm gone.
Right. And it's really interesting. Another project is Unigrid, and their donation platform on the blockchain that came off another scam project. It was Hold coin. Yeah, it was Hold. But it was really interesting because I got to experience all of this and be a part of the journey, and I'm still a part of the journey, and it's really interesting to see where these end up.
What advice, because it sounds to me like you've gotten involved in a lot of I guess I don't want to say failed, but projects that didn't go as expected. We'll leave it at that. What advice would you give somebody brand new into this who, let's say they've only got a budget of a few $100 US. They see, GPU is it has the most dynamics and the most flexibility. What advice would you give to them to get in that way?
Well, if you want to be safe, I would say just buy Bitcoin and just hold it in a hardware wallet. That's the safest thing to do, in this industry. But if you want to be risky, then and if you're technical and if you want to go into GPUs, there's many coins out there. I mean, those are two of the coins that I mentioned that they failed, but they still today they have value because of the community, and there's hundreds of examples like this. I'm still we're still mining coins like Ubic, that are smart contract platforms and that have real world use cases. They have customers, so it's really interesting. Another one is BitTube. That is something that another thing that
what is that? BitU?
BitU?
No, it's BitTube.
BitTube. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you said BitU. I was like,
Decentralized video platform, basically.
Okay.
Hey, so after we just want to talk about our sponsor here, but and then I want to ask you a little bit about some of the software you're using to control your rigs.
Oh yeah.
Especially like how you get in and how you can tune and modify the performance. But yeah, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsor of today's episode, NovaBlock. NovaBlock has been in the pool scene for about 6 months now. And in that short time, I believe, Scott, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we got to notice that they are in the top 5 or the top 10.
In US or worldwide?
I think it was worldwide that they showed us the spec.
I'd have to look that up, or somebody can correct us. But yeah, they've been moving up.
Yeah, they definitely have been moving up. They, very up and coming. They believe that, as the mining is shifting away from China, especially now, given the difficulties that's going on in China, and moves towards North America, they want to be a leader in the industry. And the way they want to do this is by giving their customers greater transparency and also, a greater education on, what is going on in the pool and how their machines are actually mining in the pool. So Scott's going to tell you guys how to get a great deal from them. I use them. I think they're wonderful. Now, Scott's going to go and show you guys how to get a good deal.
All right. So if you don't have an account, you can actually go on the right-hand side of their website and sign up. You can use an invitation code, OFFORD18, and that'll give you a permanent reduction in your pool fees down to 1.8%. And like we always like to say, if you do have a large amount of hash rate that you'd like to try with, you can get that pool fee a little bit lower. But definitely try out NovaBlock, novablock.com, and give them a look.
Right. Thanks. Okay, Saqib. So tell us, you're talking about you can still utilize even older generation hardware that I wouldn't even imagine would be useful in mining by putting in, custom tuning and firmwares and updates. So tell us about that.
Right. So basically, when I first started building these rigs, it was a real trial and error process, because not only was it just, creating the rigs from off-the-shelf parts, and getting these, gaming motherboards and riser cards and everything to where I could have 6 cards, per GPU, or 6 cards per rig, or 8 cards per rig. And controlling them through Windows was a challenge at first, because Windows is not actually meant to even have that many cards, so you have to have custom drivers and things like that. But recently, and this is why I think the bear market was amazing. There have been many solutions that have come out during this bear market that have targeted basically a remote controlling of your rigs, and if once you pair that with a remote hardware plug. So what I have is for my friend, I have these power plugs that are connected to the internet, and they can be switched on and off. So one issue that you have with GPU rigs is sometimes they'll hang. And that's something that you don't really have with ASICs,
ASICs hang all the time.
They hang, but they'll reset themselves, and with PCs or GPU rigs, they don't reset themselves. And so you will have to, the only way to really reset it is to manually turn off the power and turn it back on. And so the solution I found for that was, to have these internet plugs, where you can, control them via the internet, and they're basically a switch, a remote on and off switch. And the other thing that you can do with this is you can monitor your power usage, and you can set alarms. So whenever the power usage goes below a certain level, it'll send you an alarm. It'll send you a notification. And the other thing that I've really found that, I'm not using Windows anymore for any of my rigs. I'm using, things like there's custom, like SMS is one of them, simple mining operating system. And these are all built on Linux. And what they do is, they will allow you to, just have these, get a USB drive, get a USB stick, and you can just download this image on it. and boot your rig off of it, and then you can just control it remotely, and you can
Oh, wow.
you can even overclock undervolt.
So you don't even need like a hard drive or anything to install into.
No,
you just use
nothing.
the.
I don't have any hard drive on any of the rigs.
What would happen though if you power cycle the machine? How would the machine know to boot? I mean, I guess you would have to go in the BIOS of the motherboard and tell it to always boot from the thumb drive.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll have that preset. Yeah. And there's another setting that you need to do from the BIOS when you're mining, and you can look into that. It's for supporting more than 4 cards. Whenever you have that, you have to enable an option in the BIOS.
What's an alternative to simple mining, or why did you choose that over something else?
Well, simple mining is, it has been around for a while. So it's been over a year that I've been using it. There have been other options that have come out recently, but I've been a little hesitant to use them because, it's kind of like simple mining. Even though they're free for your first 2 days, they do charge you after that. You have to send them $1 per month per rig or something. It's really cheap. But that's their business model, and I'm fine with that. They're giving me a service, and they deserve it. But as far as the free services that have come out, it's kind of like the dev fee that a lot of these F miner software programs had before, where they could just be siphoning all of that, to their wallet, and you don't.
So kind of like maybe like a bait and switch kind of thing, and you're worried about that. Better the devil than the one you don't.
Exactly. Yes, Linux is definitely the best. I mean, it is much better than Windows for any GPU operation.
Now, recently in a podcast, it was mentioned that basically the whole mining system is based off of this old code called CG Miner and just variants of it. And now there is a new version, if you will, a much more improved version. What are your thoughts about that? And do you think that is going to impact GPU mining? Because I know CG Miner is used in GPU mining as well.
Well, what I've noticed is that and this is why I'm still able to, mine with older hardware, even 1060s are still profitable because of, a lot of, given your electricity cost is low enough, because of these improvements in these softwares. They are, I would say, 15 to 20% better off the bat, than they were, a year or two ago when they first came out. So
wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and the temperature is controlled better. Their fan profiles are also custom tuned better, so that you have less overheating problems and issues like that.
That's pretty amazing. So, what can be done with these cards? I mean, is it just the the operating system that allows you to tune these, or can you actually go into the cards themselves and make some software changes to make them better?
So that's the other thing that I've done on all of the cards is I have a custom BIOS ROM on them, and what the custom BIOS does is it basically makes it a mining card, and what that does is it kind of takes away from the 3D uses that it needs, and it puts power more towards that algorithm and increasing the hash rate towards that. And so what happens is you can actually run it. So if your graphics card core clock is let's say it's like 1400 or 1300 megahertz is the core clock, you can actually run it at 1150 and still get get better hash rate than you would at 1400. And you're able to increase your memory voltage a lot more as well with the custom BIOS.
Because what it's doing is it's tuning the cores specifically to run just hash algorithm versus doing a general purpose task.
Exactly. And so, when when I want to use a card for gaming, I'll just, flash it back to a stock BIOS. And I'll just game with that.
So how do you even? I wouldn't. I've been working with computers more than half my life, and I've never ever flashed a custom BIOS into a video graphics card. So how would you even do that? How's that even done? Like I know how to do it for a computer, but I would have no idea how to access into a card's BIOS.
You know, the interesting thing was when I was flashing 6 BIOSes, and on one rig, and you had to do them. So what happens is you're only able to do like two at one time, and there's different softwares for AMD and NVIDIA that are able to load your BIOS. So what you would obviously do is you would definitely save the current BIOS of your graphics card, and in case there's an issue, so that you could flash that one back. Using a secondary graphics card as your primary. I mean, it's pretty easy if you have the right BIOS version, and if you have the wrong BIOS version, usually the software just tells you that it's not compatible for that GPU.
So where do you find these BIOS images? I mean, you must be able to source them from somewhere, right?
Yeah. So there's several websites that you can actually source these BIOS websites. Hold on. So if you for example, if you search RX 580 BIOS, and
you just put in the card model number and BIOS.
Not every. So Tech Power Out is a website that I would recommend. They are reliable, and they have the stock. They have the stock BIOSes. But as far as the modified BIOS, you'll have to look around for that. And there's things on YouTube. As I said, look into some of the Buried One videos. He has a lot of helpful things. Yeah.
So basically, the loaders that load in the custom BIOS, they kind of come together as a package deal. You get the custom BIOS and the loader knows how to talk with the card and load. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But there are some the thing that I found it's pretty fail safe, because a graphics card, usually these 580s, 570s, and a lot of these high end graphics cards, they have a BIOS switch. So you're able to flash one BIOS, and then if that fails, you can just move on to the BIOS 2, switch back to that, and then you just reload, flash your old BIOS back.
Yeah, sure. Motherboards have that feature as well.
Exactly.
I just never knew you could do it to graphics cards. I've never had a need to do it. So I've never had a need to do it.
It's really interesting that, as I said, a lot of I remember in 2017, gamers weren't able to get GPUs because of
the miners were buying them all up.
Exactly, and it was an amazing opportunity to be a part of that. I'm not sure if we'll I'm pretty sure once we have an alt season, it'll happen again. But it was very, very amazing to be a part of that, and I look forward to another altcoin run soon.
Yeah. So Saqib, just tell us a little bit more about your journey as well, because I know you used to live in the United States, but now you're elsewhere.
Yeah. So basically, once I left US, I was working on some projects in Malaysia. And I worked on a $500 million jetty project. It was a 5-kilometer jetty. It was the world's largest jetty, and I was the deputy project manager for that project.
What's a jetty?
A jetty is they were shipping iron ore from Brazil to China. It's Vale Minerals, which is the world's largest iron ore company, and they needed a stopping point because obviously they can't make the journey in one shot with a big load. They need a storage facility. So we created a jetty, which these big ships, they can't really come out so close into the to the harbor because of the water level. So we have to create a jetty which is 5 kilometers. It's like
it's like a big loading dock,
right?
Or something, right?
Like a big loading dock, and you have a conveyor belt, and everything on it. And yeah, I mean, we built that in 3 years in record time. The company that I work with actually made the stadium for the Football World Cup. Before I started with them. So after that, it was really interesting for me to get into crypto, and as I said, I've been through a lot of things, and I'm still holding on to a lot of the projects that I was with originally. But as far as crypto mining tools, and I kind of wanted to give a shout out to Scott and Ethan for really transforming my life, by getting me involved here, because it has always been, I've always kind of had the lookout for opportunities in crypto, and I applied for different things, but I never really found the right fit. But after meeting Scott and Ethan, I think it's really transformed my my crypto journey, and taken me to the next level where I can be a part of mining long term, and that's really what I want to do.
And we're paying you to say this.
No, we're not. We're not.
Well, technically, I mean,
technically,
no, he doesn't get paid for the podcast. He gets paid for other things he helps out with, but he doesn't get paid for the podcast. Tell us a bit about that. What do you think of crypto mining tools and the changes that you've been a part of to making that?
Well, and this is really interesting. When I started out in Malaysia, the project that I was talking about, I was just an accountant, and I never studied accounts before. I was an engineer. They started me off as an accountant, but I became a deputy project manager. And over here, with you guys, when I first started off, I was just doing tiny Excel things and things like that, but slowly I started realizing, the opportunity and that, where you guys were really taking this. And that started out with with your website, cryptomining.tools, and the options that you had for, miners like me. You had the calculator app, you have the comparison app, and it's not really laid out like before. The websites that I used to go to before don't really have this, this level of detail. Even I haven't even found a website that takes into account, the Bitcoin block halving.
Yeah, that's still nobody's got that but us.
And that's kind of really crazy, because you can't understand your profitability without knowing that information.
There's no way.
So basic things like that, and when the thing that I'm a part of now, which is what we're creating, which is the directory. And this is the directory for mining farms worldwide. This is something that has never been created before. I haven't seen it, in the mining industry, and I'm really, it's amazing that Scott and Ethan did this for the community, and I really hope that everyone uses it to its maximum potential, because we are doing this to create value for the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and there you are.
Oh, and there you are.
Yeah, so if you visit the website and stay around long enough, Saqib will pop up and start asking you some questions.
Yeah, speaking of being able to talk to Saqib, can you let our audience know, or everybody out there know, what is the best way to reach out and talk to you?
Well, you can send me a message here on our website at cryptomining.tools. That's an easy way to get to me, or you can reach my Twitter at SaqibXP, SAQIBXP. That's pretty much. I'm always available on cryptomining.tools.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I learned so much from you, and it's going to be hard to continue working with you now without me asking you more questions, because I still have more questions.
and this is kind of what, I wanted to get the conversation started about GPUs, because, it's really, I know ASICs are amazing, and they are, for probably the brunt of our customers. But I think the GPUs are something that we really should look into as well, and start talking about, at least, on the show, and we can start, from there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Man, that looks great. The directory does look, every time I look at that, it just makes me smile.
Yeah,
it does.
It's come along. So yeah, right now we have Shannon Squires working on partnerships with different hosting companies.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Saqib working with the development team along with you, Ethan.
Yes.
And we're really just now adding some more features and making this a little bit more robust. And then we're going to go back and fill out some more featers on the calculator. Absolutely. And on the shopping brokerage.
Absolutely. And enhances are in the works daily. We're evaluating potential enhancements, and especially on the back end, giving and empowering users and their ability to utilize the technology to make it easy for them and powerful for them. And these things are being done constantly. So don't be afraid to, come back and check in on us, because you should always be seeing something different, at least every week. Every week you should see something or be able to notice something different.
Yep. We are basically looking to revamp, the site and make it even better than it is. It's, for the prospective buyer.
Yeah. As Saqib and I say, Kaizen, which is a Japanese word for continual improvement. Yes.
Kaizen.
Kaizen.
Right.
All right. So Saqib, any last words of wisdom, or maybe a funny joke? Or we're not going to talk about poop or farting.
No pooping or farting on our podcast, but we do talk about bad gas.
Right.
Bad gas, right.
Yes.
I just want to tell everyone to be safe during this time. Take care of your family and stay indoors, and stay at home, stay safe, and we want to survive this time so that we can thrive in the time that is coming. So I just want everyone to stay safe and their families to stay safe.
All right.
Good
well,
words.
Saqib,
Right.
Thanks for your time. I'm glad you can join us and tell us a little bit more about GPU.
Thanks a lot,
Saqib.
Saqib.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Guys.
Take care.